Perry.
And I'm Summer Bartholomew.
And I hope you'll be with us all this week for America's biggest bargains on Sale of the Century.
It's America's biggest, wildest sale. Let's all be there for Sale of the Century weeknights at 6:30 on TV 11.
TV 11, let's all be there.
I'm Paul Major.
And I'm Diana Pierce. Coming up on News 11, blizzard conditions come howling into the metro area. We'll have details.
And we'll have a live report from Reno where there are new developments in the investigation of Monday's crash. And the verdict is in the trial of 3 northern Minnesota tax protesters.
News 11 is next.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a soybean herbicide that worked one pass or two? That it controlled grasses and tough weeds like foxtail, pigweed, lamb's quarters, and help stop nightshade? One that'd keep on working right through harvest and yet not carry over to next season's crops. Well, now there is. It's called Sonalan from Elanco. Sonalan gives you season-long grass and weed control at a reasonable cost. Soybeans and Sonalan. They're made for each other.
Honey, you wouldn't believe where they put me.
Why don't you ask for some perks?
Perks? I don't have any perks. You got any perks?
Republic Airlines thinks everyone in business deserves perks.
Perks?
Your own section, business first. Up front, 2 across, wide, first-class seats. A special section designed for adults.
Thank you. Honey, you're talking to a man with perks.
How many?
Introducing new Velleman's gum.
It's alive with flavor.
The first sugar-free gum with flavor sparkles.
Alive with freshness. New Velleman's gum makes your mouth come alive. A cool, new, clean sensation arrive. New Velleman's gum makes your mouth come alive. Sparkling fresh makes you feel refined. New Velleman's gum makes your mouth come alive.
New Velleman's sugar-free gum.
Makes your mouth come alive.
From the Twin Cities Action Center, News 11, your new choice for news. With Paul Majors, Diana Pierce, Tom Ryder on sports, and meteorologist Paul Douglas.
Good evening. Topping tonight's News 11, a ferocious blizzard.
A blizzard packing snow and winds that smothered most of 11 country.
When it arrived, it came with a knockout punch, reducing visibility to near zero. On the highways, cars were slowed to a crawl as the blowing snow made driving impossible. With winds gusting up to 58 miles an hour, many drivers sought safety anywhere they could find refuge. And in downtown Minneapolis, the chilling blast knocked out windows at this first shop on Nicollet Mall. And on Wayzata Boulevard at an office supply company, the windows were also shattered.
Paul Douglas is out in the backyard where conditions have improved slightly since the height of the blizzard at 8 o'clock. Paul?
Diana, it's the most inclement night I've experienced yet out here in the backyard. Just to give you some idea of what it looks like, we want to take a peek at the rooftop camera, and you can see for yourself these drifts were not here at 5 o'clock. And I can just imagine the extent of the blowing and drifting on some of the secondary outlying roads. It's a mess. The good news is the worst of the whiteout is now to our east, moving into Wisconsin. We want to check the computer. Those red splotches are blizzard warnings in effect for western, southern, and east central Minnesota right through the nighttime hours tonight. And that includes the Twin Cities metro area. Most of that, the result of blowing and drifting. Winds will be gusting up to about 40 to 50 miles an hour. There's where it's snowing. Here is where the blizzard conditions are in red across much of Minnesota. Now, to have a blizzard, you need 35-mile-an-hour winds. Visibility's under a quarter of a mile. Falling or drifting snow, and we have all of those ingredients tonight. Those are the wind gusts as high as 50 to 60 miles an hour, and that is making for wind chills at this hour, anywhere from 30 to 60 below zero. This weather-related note at Afton Alps, the ski resort, they are holding all buses until the roads clear. That may be sometime late tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're expecting a friend or a relative back from Afton Alps, do not panic. They're probably safe. They're simply staying put, and I think that would be the word to the wise tonight. For goodness sakes, if you don't have to go out in this, don't. Visibilities will still be down around zero tonight with severe blowing and drifting, and plan on giving yourself extra time to get off to work or school. Paul and Diana, we will update you in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Paul, we'll check in with you later. Well, one of the hardest hit parts of Minnesota appears to be in Polk County, and right now on the phone with me is Don Fall, the dispatcher for the Polk County Sheriff's Office. Don, I understand earlier tonight you folks called out the National Guard to help you, correct?
Yeah, Sheriff Moser, Polk
County here. Called out the National Guard at about 8:30 this evening to start helping us rescue some of the people that are stranded, mainly between Crookston and East Grand Forks in our county. And they use a weasel, it's called, armored personnel carrier.
And they're out on the highways with that right now. And we have a wire report here that they've hauled in about 20 people. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what's being done for these people?
Well, they're being taken, either of them are just taken to the East Grand Forks Fire Department, and they're going to be put up there. Other ones, 2 motels in Grand Forks, and dropped off in the town of Fisher, about 11 miles west of here. We just dropped one off there.
Well, what are the conditions right now in and around Crookston and Polk County?
Wind gusts right now is one at 28 miles an hour. Just hit us now is 57 below wind chill.
Mm-hmm. Are most of the roads closed?
Oh, yes, the roads are closed for all practical purposes. Highway 2 was closed by the state earlier this evening, and it's Highway 2 west from Crookston to Grand Forks.
I can hear the phones ringing in the background. Are you getting calls from people that are stranded or from people that want to travel, or what's going on there?
From both. People that want to travel that still...
They're just not convinced it's bad.
Convinced that it's bad yet, yes. And also people that are coming in and telling us that there's somebody missing and somebody stranded.
So the National Guard is still out at this time, is that right?
That's right. There's 4 National Guardsmen and a deputy in the from Polk County.
Well, Paul Douglas and the weather staff here tells me that you should have some blowing snow. It should start to taper off actually about midnight. It'll still be blowing, but he said conditions should improve somewhat slightly. So we wish you and the National Guard the best of luck.
Well, that's encouraging, and thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Don.
All right.
So long.
And the fast-moving snow moved quickly into Wisconsin tonight. A News 11 crew was in the New Richmond area, and Jeanette Harrison joins us live now from New Richmond. Jeanette, what's it like there?
Paul and Diana, I hate to admit it, but I have rarely been as frightened as I was tonight. We were headed down Highway 65 in rural Wisconsin. 1 minute we could see where we were going, the next minute we could absolutely see nothing. At one point our car here went into the ditch, and we were literally afraid to get out of the car for fear that the wind would blow us away from the car and we wouldn't be able to get back in to find our car again. And for those people who are not convinced that it's not a night to travel, from someone who is out here, don't join me. Back to you.
All right, Jeanette, thank you very much, reporting from New Richmond, Wisconsin. Well, the other major story of the night continues to be the crash of Galaxy Flight 203. In Washington, the charred black box that will help piece together the cause of the crash is being examined. And in Reno, investigators are searching the airport on foot looking for clues that may have been overlooked. Right now in Reno, National Transportation Safety Board officials are bringing the media up to date on the investigation.
No dramatic revelations are expected, but it was a busy day there for investigators. Alan Costantini is in Reno right now. Alan?
Paul and Diana, if the efforts of National Transportation Safety Board officials to find the key to the puzzle of this disaster, which claimed 68 lives, have not been apparent to Reno residents before, they are now. The Reno airport has never had the kind of inspection it got today.
Okay, we're ready to go. How about putting 30 feet between each of you? Cross the runway.
The NTSB recruited more than 100 searchers from federal, state, and local agencies to make a foot-by-foot search of the path of Flight 203. The men and women were looking for bits of physical evidence, anything that could point to the actual cause of the crash. The march took over 2 hours, a dramatic slow-motion retracing of the tragedy that cost 68 lives. Air traffic was diverted to side runways so as not to distract or endanger the operation. A little later, NTSB Chairman Burnett made a personal visit to this construction site. His interest? This 220-foot construction crane. It stands at an office building construction site just a couple of hundred yards from the impact points of the crash.
There's a possibility that as best we can trace the flight path that it may have come near the crane. We want to be sure that it didn't hit it. We don't have any reason to believe that it did. In fact, we don't think that it did.
The safety officials are going to every extreme to be sure that all physical evidence is gathered or observed before the crash site is cleansed of debris. And physical evidence is not the only type of evidence being investigated here, of course. There is tape recording evidence of a possible problem with the engines on that Galaxy flight. News 11's Bernie Grace says that the tape recording of a Las Vegas control tower conversation we told you about yesterday has now been released. It's a conversation between the Las Vegas control tower, a Galaxy pilot, and an Eastern Airlines pilot.
Just one day before Galaxy Flight 203 crashed in Reno, an Eastern pilot was taxiing behind the Galaxy aircraft in Las Vegas. The Eastern pilot radioed the control tower that the Galaxy aircraft appeared to be having problems with an engine.
Eastern 700, follow the Lockheed Electra taxi position, hold runway 25. Yeah, we'll do that, but you ought to tell that Lockheed Electra that's going in position that they ought to look at their number one engine. That thing's smoking a lot and losing some kind of liquid. Galaxy 532, did you copy that? No, we did, thank you. Putting a lot of blue smoke out of one of the vents on the left side. We'll take a look at it. Next stop one.
In his job at Eastern, the pilot worked with the type of plane that crashed in Reno. The chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board says that makes him a credible witness.
Well, it can't be said that he wasn't familiar with what one should expect or observations about the Electra, that he didn't know, wasn't familiar with the machine, in other words.
Meanwhile, at the temporary morgue, caskets arrived throughout the day as a team of 40 investigators continue to try and identify the 68 crash victims. The identification process is moving ahead faster than what the county coroner expected. Vernon McCarty says a list of victims may be released tomorrow, and then final arrangements will be made for the bodies to be sent to the Twin Cities.
All attempts will be made to ship as many of these people at or about the same time as possible, probably toward the end of the weekend, the first part of next week.
Here at the morgue, autopsies on the crash victims show some of the victims died on impact from trauma, others from the fire, and still others from smoke inhalation. Alan?
And as you alluded to at the top of this report, Paul and Diana, there is right now a report going on, a briefing inside the Airport Plaza Hotel here in Reno by the National Transportation Safety Board officials, but we do not expect any dramatic developments to come out of that briefing. At least we don't expect that at this time. Back to you.
Yeah, this seems to be, Alan, from what you've been reporting all along, this seems to be a very slow process of elimination. Is that correct?
As to the cause of the crash, Paul?
Right.
Yes, that is correct. They're really going through, you remember the questions about the propellers, could they find the pieces of the propeller? The report you saw just a few moments ago about what could it possibly have nudged the crane, that doesn't seem likely, but they wanted to check that out. They're scouring, looking for any evidence at all, trying to just eliminate the possibilities until they find the cause of this crash.
And we'll also check back in with you later on in the newscast. All right?
Very good.
A major part of the investigation is now taking place in Washington. Today, the president of Galaxy Airlines, Philip Sheridan, met with the head of the National Transportation Safety Board. Sheridan told him there was nothing wrong with the plane. FAA records obtained by News 11's Washington Bureau show that as late as November of last year, investigators found no evidence to suggest the 1960 vintage plane was not airworthy. And as Tracy Lyons reports, the black box it carried is now being examined for clues.
At NTSB headquarters in Washington, inspectors are now trying to get as much information as possible from the plane's so-called black box, the voice recorder in the Electra's cockpit.
We are hoping to be able to get the engine sounds, and from that we can do a spectrum analysis and perhaps, if we're lucky, decide what kind of thrust the engines were developing and perhaps analyze any vibrations that occurred.
What investigators may never know is the plane's altitude, airspeed, and engine thrust. The aircraft's data recorder had run out of tape at the time of the crash.
Recorders are never used in isolation. We'll always coordinate with the investigator in charge at the scene and so on. So, although they are very important, they're not the whole story.
Tracy Lyons, News 11, the Washington Bureau.
And the Electra had a very hectic schedule before it went down. Last Friday morning, it left Minneapolis and went to South Lake Tahoe, Seattle, and Las Vegas. Sunday, it stopped in South Lake Tahoe, Oakland, Las Vegas, Seattle, Oakland, and Reno. And early Monday morning, the Electra crashed. The conditions of the three men who survived the crash have not changed. 45-year-old Robert Meggins of Plymouth is in critical but stable condition this evening. And the family of Robert Meggins is still with him tonight. The Wayzata School administrator is being cared for at Las Vegas Memorial Hospital burn unit. He has burns over 90% of his body, but his family remains hopeful. Mrs. Meggins says it'll be several weeks before doctors decide when her husband can be transferred back home. Diana?
And the other two survivors are hospitalized in Reno. George Lamson Sr. is in critical condition. George Lamson Jr. is in satisfactory condition tonight. The younger Lamson is doing so well. Today he did a live interview on NBC's Today Show, and he talked about his condition.
I feel fine. I just have a few sores along the side of my leg and right here on my hand. I feel just great.
But there's no word yet when George Lamson Jr. will be able to come back home.
In New Richmond, Wisconsin tonight, friends and family gathered to mourn the loss of a loved one. Robert Dossittle perished in the Galaxy airplane crash in Reno. Tonight, there was a memorial service for the man who recently retired as the superintendent of the Somerset New Richmond School District. Tomorrow, in memory of Robert Dossittle, schools in the district will be closed.
If you want a new Ford truck but monthly payments seem out of reach, opportunity is knocking. Midway Ford of Roseville will put you behind the wheel of a 1985 F-150 pickup truck for just $129.40 per month. Yes, for a limited time, our red carpet lease plan lets you drive the best-selling truck in America. $129.40 per month. Opportunity seldom knocks twice. Hurry to Midway Ford today.
Midway Ford is the talk of the town.
It's bigger, it experiences growing pains. The pain of throwing out communications equipment that's suddenly obsolete. The pain of buying new equipment to replace it. Fortunately, there is Centron, the only communication system you'll ever need, because Centron service will grow as you grow, simply, inexpensively. Centron Communication System. Growth without the growing pains. Centron, from Northwestern Bell.
Unfortunately, they're forecasting low temperatures. Fortunately, People Express is forecasting low prices to 8 Florida cities.
Former Israeli Defense Minister Ariel Sharon today lost his $50 million libel battle. Federal court jury in New York City today ruled that Time magazine did not knowingly or recklessly publish a false story about Sharon. That story linked Sharon to the massacre of Palestinian refugees in 1982. The jury had found Time's story false and defamatory, but since there was absence of malice, Sharon lost the case.
Topping Dateline tonight, a secret payload in outer space. After a one-day delay caused by freezing temperatures in Florida, the Discovery space shuttle blasted off today. The shuttle and its mysterious payload are in orbit tonight. Reports indicate the shuttle is carrying a spy satellite capable of tracking Soviet missiles. In Italy, convicted Nazi war criminal Walter Rader has been released from prison after spending the last 34 years of his life there. The 69-year-old man was let out 6 months early. He's reportedly ill. He was released despite a protest by a lot of people. They still remember that Rader led a 5-day reign of terror in 1944 in which more than 1,500 Italians were massacred. And in Los Angeles, a campaign that puts the pictures of missing children on milk cartons paid off for one family. Mother and daughter were reunited today. 3 months ago, the teenage girl had run away. But the milk carton campaign, which quoted her mother as saying she loved her daughter and wanted her home, convinced the girl she should return home.
Now let's go right to Paul Douglas to get an update.
I know I must look pretty ridiculous right about now, but the top priority over the next 4 minutes will be keeping my composure and staying warm, and that's going to be tricky.
You had time to prepare for this, though, with the earmuffs, because last night you were talking about conditions being ripe for just what is taking place tonight.
We were concerned about the upper-level winds. They are 150 miles an hour right now, some 4 miles above the ground, and that is the high-velocity air that is now working its way down to the ground and causing all the problems. And it's somewhat ironic. It was just 1 year ago, almost to the day, that another blizzard ripped through Minnesota. The brunt slashed through western Minnesota on February 4th of last year with 80-mile-an-hour winds and blinding snow. 5 to 10-foot drifts were common. The snowy whirlwind claimed 19 lives in Minnesota. The worst thing you can possibly do on a night like tonight during a blizzard is panic and abandon your car searching for shelter. Stay with your car, use your fuel and heater sparingly. If you have the engine turned on and the heater, make sure you have a window cracked slightly for ventilation. A lot of folks perish because of carbon monoxide fumes. And remove snow from your exhaust pipe. Keep moving in the car. Thump your feet and your arms. One person should always stay awake inside the car in case help arrives. You may want to flick a dome light off and on, and if it's during the daylight hours, tie a brightly colored cloth on your antenna. But the bottom line is, if you use your head, don't panic, stay with the car. The chances are very good you will be discovered in time and, well, you won't become a casualty figure. It's dangerous out there. I would not be wandering out here if I didn't have to. Actually, I enjoy it, even on nights like tonight. But it is very dangerous, and travel conditions are going to get a little worse before they get better during the day tomorrow. Earlier today in the backyard, much earlier, we had a high of 28 degrees after a low of 11. This is the view from on top of the roof here at Channel 11. We've seen 2.6 inches of snow, 1.6 since the whiteout began around 7:30. Sunrise at 7:42. In the backyard now, light snow at 11, a north wind at 28, gusting up to 40, making for a wind chill of 30 below. The humidity 73% and the pressure 29.62 and on the rise. Could I interest you in 70 degrees? That was the high today in Miami. 38 in St. Louis, 43 in Denver, and a balmy 71 in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, our winds will be screaming, howling from the north for the next 24 to 48 hours. More cold air is on the way. Here's where it's snowing, and it is a blizzard. If you look up blizzard in Webster's dictionary, you need 35-mile-an-hour winds. Visibility is under a quarter mile with blowing and or drifting snow. We have all those ingredients all across the state. These are the temperatures falling through the single numbers, already sub-zero, -11 up in Winnipeg. That's only half the story. These are the wind gusts. Since 9 o'clock, as high as 44 miles an hour in the cities, 56 in Rochester, and that is making for wind chills very dangerous. Down around 35 to 53 below zero. So the wind chills are dangerous, and these winds are also producing incredibly severe blowing and drifting, especially west of the Twin Cities. Blizzard warnings are in red. Travelers' advisories are in yellow. This blizzard warning in effect right through the nighttime hours. We only expect another inch of additional snow to fall from the sky, though. The satellite, well, you can see this is where the cold front is right now, and here's the Arctic high that is just going to come diving southward. Temperatures tomorrow won't climb out of the single numbers. Thankfully, skies will be clearing out later on tonight. We expect plenty of bright sunshine tomorrow before the next Alberta Clipper arrives with more snow long about Saturday. We'll put this all into perspective for you, hopefully, in about 2 minutes.
It's Menards Winter Sale, and it's filled with dazzling ideas for lighting your home. Save big money now on ceiling lights, wall fixtures, and lovely hanging lamps. Menards has utility lamps on sale, too, or save on chandeliers to light your table. Menards has a stunning selection on sale. Save on this antique brass beauty with tulip glass shades, on sale now for just $18.88. Save big money on elegant lighting now during Menards Winter Sale.
Save big money at Menards.
I don't know who my friends are anymore. I don't know who to trust.
They were best friends from boyhood. Who did you receive your instructions from?
Terrorista. I am not.
Then they committed a crime against their country.
You want to be partners? I'm offering you a partnership.
They became the two most wanted men in America. Their story is true.
Leave your bags behind. We're going to get on the plane.
Timothy Hutton, Sean Penn, a John Schlesinger film. The Falcon and the Snowman, rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspaper. Barnett Chrysler Plymouth Jeeps. No sale.
That's right. No high pressure, no hidden charges. 60 front-wheel drive Voyager vans, all discounted. New loaded LeBarons with air and more for $99.99, or save up to $4,000 on our huge purchase of 50, 84, and 85 Jeeps. No razzle-dazzle, no high pressure, and through 6 p.m. Saturday, almost no profit during the no sale at Barnett Chrysler Plymouth and Jeep in White.
Oh, no. I forgot to add fabric softener.
Solo detergent has softener built in. It's a clean with a softness you can't forget. See the difference Solo softener can make. 2 piles of 10 sweatshirts. Both are clean, but Solo's clean is fluffed up higher. Solo clothes are clean, soft, without static cling. Forget to add the fabric softener again?
No, I use Solo now.
Solo, it's a clean with a softness you can't forget.
You may be able to hear some snowmobilers behind me. That's the best way to get from point A to point B tonight. At the height of the storm, 58-mile-an-hour winds, zero visibilities right around 8 o'clock. The snow falling horizontally. The worst of that weather is now to our east in Wisconsin. Here's the 11 outlook for tonight. Again, that blizzard warning in effect for the metro area, but the worst seems to be over. There still will be severe blowing and drifting. Give yourself extra time. 3 to 9 below for a low with a wind chill of -50 to -60. Tomorrow, lots of sun, 5 to 10 for a high. The next chance of light snow will come Saturday with a high of 19. Temperatures cooling off again early next week. Treacherous travel tonight. Weather conditions.